Hi, welcome to Supersized Holidays, 5 DIY crafts to do at home. My name is Paige, and I'm going to show you 5 different and easy crafts that you can do at home and use to decorate your yard or inside your house, depending on where you'd like them. They are super simple, but the results will be very, very stunning, I promise you. So, without further ado, let's get started. Extra large Christmas bows. This is probably the simplest craft we're going to cover today, and you only need 2 items for it. Mesh ribbon, about 10 inches long in your preferred color, and some floral wire. And that's going to be what we're going to use to wrap it up. And of course, I guess, if you want to count a third item, some scissors. To get started, take the ribbon in one hand, reach over, and make a loop with it. Now, depending on the size of the bow, your loop will be bigger or smaller. For me, I'm doing about a 5-inch loop from my hand. Repeat this process on the other side and make sure the loop is the same size. From there, you kind of just keep going and make a figure 8 with your hand in the middle. And periodically, make sure the loops are the same size that you want them to be. Now you might have noticed I'm using the scissors as a way to keep the roll from rolling back into my hand. It makes the process a lot easier. Once you get to the end, you might be like me where you end up with a good amount of ribbon left over that won't go into another loop. And that's okay, we'll come back to that. For now, just go ahead and pull that center tight. This is where we're going to put the wire. Make sure you cut more wire than you think you'll need. The leftovers are going to be what you use to secure it to where you want to place the bow later when it's finished. From there, you wrap the wire around the ribbon and twist it up so that it holds the mesh in place. Now we can finally go back to that little end that was hanging out earlier. It's really simple. Just take it, grab your scissors, and cut it off close to where the wire is. The last step is simply to fluff. This could take a while, but simply twist and pull at the ribbon until it looks like what you want. And there you have it, 2 extra large bows. Humongous ornaments. For this, you'll need a big, giant plastic ball for the body of the ornament. We'll also be using some Tupperware as the top, which I have spray painted silver. I did 2 different varieties, and I'll show you what's different about them later on in the video. Also, you'll need some waterproof glue and some wire. To start off, let me show you what the difference is between the 2 tops. For this first one, I drilled the holes into the top, which is more like an actual ornament, but I left the outside rim intact, which is not like an ornament. But you can also just put the holes in the side and cut off the rim if you want to be more realistic. Both are good options though. Next, cut out some wire. You'll want to cut a little bit more than what you probably think you'll need. And that's just because we'll be using some on the inside just to make sure it doesn't fall out at any point. Place the ends of the wire in each hole. Flip the Tupperware over and use some pliers to reshape the end of the wire into a loop. This will stop the wire from coming out at any point. Once you've done the same to the other side, you can then start to reshape the outside of the wire so that it has a better arch to it and it looks more like the top of an ornament. Next, we're going to take this part of the ball and we're going to place the topper on top of that so that it covers it up. Take your glue and put it on the outside rim of your ornament topper. The final step is just placing the ball on top of that and letting it sit over on the side. Now, for our other ornament topper, it can be a little bit more challenging just because the holes are on the top, and as you can see, it doesn't sit too well just resting on the counter. So what I've done is I've taken a duct tape roll and I've placed the topper on that so that it can sit easily. Then once again, just put the glue on the outside rim and place the ball with the label on the top. And that's it. After they dry, these are ready to go. Oversized lollipops. For the main body of the lollipop, we'll be using duct tape and pool noodles. Then for the stand, we'll be using a 3/4 inch PVC pipe. The size of the PVC pipe isn't too important, so I'll leave that up to you. It just depends on how tall you want your lollipop to be. To cover the lollipop, I'll be using a plastic wrap. You can also use cellophane if that's what you would prefer, to put over the top of the lollipop and emulate a wrapper. And finally, we'll need a hot glue gun and some glue sticks. You'll want to start by wrapping up the pool noodles with duct tape. In order to create a lollipop effect, the duct tape should go on diagonally. The easiest way to do this is by placing the duct tape at an angle when you first put it at the top, and then keeping that angle as you work your way down the pool noodle. To create a very uniform effect, it also helps to keep the duct tape steady and rotate the pool noodle instead of the opposite. Once you get to the end, you'll just take off the excess with some scissors. And it's okay to leave a lot on the end and just push it down into the top of the pool noodle. That will come in handy later. Once you've done the same to the other pool noodle, it's time to start gluing. The beginning of the gluing process is probably the most difficult, just because it's the part of the pool noodle that's going to resist the most to sticking in place. After you put the glue, bend it and hold in place. And I know that says 2 minutes, but don't be afraid to hold it even longer. You really want this first part to stick in place before you start with the rest of the lollipop. So even though it might be hard, just hang tight and make sure it's solid before you move on. My suggestion, download an audiobook from Overdrive and listen while you go. It's what I did. After you're confident that first part is set, go ahead and start on the rest of the lollipop. And make sure that you let it sit for 2 minutes before you move on. The hot glue is going to stick more easily to the duct tape rather than the pool noodle. And actually will even probably melt the pool noodle a little bit. So no need to feel that you need to put an excessive amount of duct tape on the pool noodle. A very nice thin line will do the job just fine. When you get to the point that you have to connect the two pool noodles, it's important to make sure that the duct tape lines up with the other side. This is why it was okay to have a lot of duct tape on the ends of each piece, because the two sides will stick better together if they both have more duct tape instead of pool noodle. After the two pieces have dried, take an extra piece of duct tape, trim off the edges so that they're a little bit more clean, and place it over the top of the duct tape on the seam. Not only will this help them stick together a little bit easier, but it will also hide the seam from the eyesight of the viewer a little bit more. Now you can just simply glue up the rest of the lollipop like you were before. Once you get close to the end, you might notice that there will be a stubborn part that doesn't want to stay put. This is normal, especially if the side that's connected to the rest of the lollipop happens to be the pool noodle instead of some duct tape. Now, an easy solution to this, which I took on when I was doing this, is that I simply decided to cut it off. So you can take a box cutter, which I used right here, or scissors, either will work, and simply remove the part that doesn't want to stick. After that's done, you're left with a fully formed lollipop. All that's left is to put it on a stick and wrap it up. So take your PVC pipe and make a score on the pool noodle area. Once you have an outline, go ahead and make a small insertion on the inside of that outline, and that's where your PVC pipe will go in. Put some glue on the end of the PVC pipe and place it back in the lollipop. As that dries, you can begin to measure out your plastic for wrapping up the lollipop top. Just like a lot of the other crafts we do, make sure you cut more than what you think you need. And this is simply because we want to leave a lot at the bottom that we can fluff out and make cuter. After you wrap it up, take a piece of tape and wrap it around the base of the lollipop head. Doing so will help you keep the plastic in place. It makes it easy to fluff out the bottom and also place a ribbon around the base of the lollipop head. For this, I used a simple ribbon that I curled up, but you are not limited to that. You can pick any ribbon that you want and that you think goes with your lollipop. Or, even more, you can go without a ribbon. It'll look good either way. And there we go. You can make these in all types of different colors, all types of different ribbons, and all types of different heights. Giant bells. Now this might be my favorite craft of the evening. It's really simple. You need a large red ball. I chose a very glittery one. Some white rope, preferably not too large or too thick. A 1/4 inch eye bolt with a nut attached to it. Some scissors, some tape, and finally a flower pot that you spray silver. Now this was very cheap. I just got it at Walmart in their gardening section. It actually didn't even have a hole in the top, that's how cheap it was. So I drilled a small hole right in the center right there, and that's where the screw is going to go. So take your screw and put it in, and you're going to want to put it so that it's about halfway or maybe a little bit more than halfway right there. You can always adjust this later, so even if you don't get it right, it's not something to worry too much about. Next thing is that we need to put the rope through the ornament. So that's a very thick end. So cut that off and place a piece of tape around the end of it so that it's not so thick. This will allow you to thread the rope through the top of the ornament. Tie it off with a double knot and use the scissors to cut off the excess amount of rope. The last thing to do is to tie the ball to the silver bell. Hold the rope up next to the silver bell to get a measurement of where you want to cut the rope. Make sure you cut extra since you will be tying a knot. Put a double knot onto the screw, and then you're done. If you find that the ball is hanging out too much or that you want it to hang out a little bit more, then you can use the screw to adjust the length of the ball. Other than that, this is ready to get hung. Candy Cane Picket Fence. This is the last craft and it has the most elements, but it's still pretty simple. You'll need red duct tape, a lot of PVC pipe, which I'll go over the dimensions later, at least 5 small Christmas balls, these are plastic, 2 larger Christmas balls. I decided to go with gold and red, though you can choose your own colors and styles. Some waterproof glue, or a hot glue gun if that is what you prefer. We'll also be doing a lot of measuring, so it's good to have a Sharpie and a ruler, or even better, a yardstick on hand. One optional step that you can take is by removing the writing on the PVC pipe. This is a very optional step, but if you want to, you can take some tissue paper and nail polish remover, which is, I use the 100% acetane nail polish remover just so that it will come off easier. And you simply wet the tissue paper and rub along the text to get rid of it. Eventually, you'll be left with a very nice and clean looking PVC pipe. Now it's time to wrap the PVC pipe with the duct tape. You want to start with the duct tape at an angle and keep it at that same angle as you continue to wrap the PVC pipe. I find that the easiest way to do this is by rotating the PVC pipe and keeping the duct tape steady. And a good way to avoid wrinkles in the duct tape is by keeping that left hand steady on the PVC pipe and just pushing that thumb over the duct tape as you move along. Now let's talk about the dimensions of these PVC pipes for a moment. For the 2 end posts, you're going to need 2 1 1/4 PVC pipes at 42 inches length. For the 2 poles going across the middle of the picket fence, you'll need 2 3/4 inch PVC pipes at 48 inches length. And then for all the individual posts, you'll need 2 3/4 inch PVC pipes at 40 inches length, 2 3/4 PVC pipes at 38 inches length, and 1 3/4 inch PVC pipe at 36 inches length. Whew. Okay, that was a lot. Start the gluing process by making the frame. Measure 1 foot from the bottom of the end post and 1 foot from the top of the end post. This will be where you'll glue your crossbars. Since this is the main frame of the rest of the fence, it's important to make a good job of gluing these down and letting them dry before we move on to the next step. After that, you'll want to measure for your remaining poles. The crossbars are 48 inches, so if you divide that by 6, you'll get 8 inches in between each pole. The smallest pole, the 36-inch PVC pipe, will go in the middle. On either side of that pole will go the 2 38-inch PVC pipes, and closest to the end poles will go the 2 40-inch PVC pipes. It's a good idea to use a wall or a flat surface that you can rest the ends of the fence against to keep that bottom line straight. After the entire frame has dried completely, it's time for the final step, adding the Christmas balls to each post. Glue the large ornaments to the end posts and the smaller ornaments on the posts in the middle. Put the glue on the top of the ornaments and have them face down into the PVC pipe so that you're covering the top of the ornaments. And then you're done. And it's ready to go. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season.